Hello, previously we looked at how plants can possibly become infected by microorganisms, but we are now looking at how they might defend themselves against such invasion from microbes. So the first way is by physical response, and there's three different ways we can look at. The first one is that most plants have a tough waxy cuticle on the leaves. So there you can see on the surface there, it looks a bit shiny, and that's because of this waxy cuticle that also defends against water loss as well. On trees and some young plants, we also have a layer of dead cells on, for example, the trunk in this diagram, and that layer of dead cells is called the bark, and that bark can fall off. So if there is any kind of infection or possible invasion by microbes, the bark with the microbes can fall off and then prevent the tree from getting a particular disease. We also have other defenses as well. So if we look at this cross section of a leaf, we've looked at this in a lot of detail in a previous video, but there are a whole bunch of different cells, but each and every cell in a plant, pretty much each and every cell, has a tough outer layer, and it's called the cell wall. It's made of a tough substance called cellulose, and that makes it difficult for microbes to actually get past the wall and into cells. So that's the physical defenses that plants might have. We also have another bunch of defenses that we would call chemical. So these are chemical plant defense responses. And what we might have is a plant doing one of two things. The first one is to produce antibacterial chemicals. So these are basically chemicals that will fight off and kill potential bacteria that might be trying to invade the cells or the tissues of that plant. We also have some plants that make poisons. Now these aren't necessarily against bacteria, these are against animals that might try to eat the plants. So in other words, herbivores, which are animals that eat plants. It could also be, poisons can also be found in the fruits, but also in the actual plant tissue itself. The third method we would categorize as mechanical adaptations. And one of the first ones is this idea of mimicry. Now this is when a plant adjusts its appearance to make it look like something's going on that isn't. It could be parts of a plant looking like insects, or it could be something as simple as what's going on the screen there. You can see those little yellow spots. Those are mimicking the eggs of a butterfly species. So when the actual butterfly species comes along, it doesn't lay its eggs on that leaf to avoid competition, but those aren't actually real eggs. Another mechanical method is when we see something like thorns on the stems of plants. You might notice that on rose bushes, they are quite stiff and pointy thorns on there, but sometimes we can also have small hairs on plants as well that deter insects or other organisms from actually either eating or actually getting into the plant. Some plants have leaves that can either droop or curl when they have been touched by an animal. And one example of that is a species of plant called Mimosa. And this has leaves that will curl up and droop to make any insects that land on it fall off. Okay, so that's our mechanical method. So let's just finish off actually numbering these for each group of defense systems. There we go. So there's all the numbered points for the three methods for which plants defend themselves.